Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here with another live stream, a news update, if you like, looking at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press here in Spain over the last couple of days or so. It's the 20th of July, 7:35 p.m. Spain mainland time, 6:35 of course in the Canary Islands, and we'll get stuck into the news in just a moment. We'll look at some comments that have been left on the channel in recent times by viewers, and we'll also go into the live chat and check out what is happening there in that live chat section. So if you're watching this evening, say hello, leave a comment if you have anything to add to the conversation today. The live chat is the place for you, or the comment section after the video live has finished. Now, we'll get straight into the news, and wildfires is the main news in Spain at the moment. Dominating the news are the wildfires burning out of control in different parts of the country. I think the majority are now under control, but for the last couple of days, it has been a bit of an issue. Wildfires on the outskirts of Madrid, wildfires in the center of the country, Avila, and also in the province of Badajoz, and that's the one that we'll look at now because it has caused a fair bit of damage. As we can read here, the Valdecaballeros wildfire under control after burning 2,500 hectares. A wildfire in Valdecaballeros, Badajoz, which has destroyed at least 2,500 hectares of land, is now showing positive signs of control, though authorities warn that shifting winds could complicate efforts. Declared a level 1 emergency due to risks to people, property and the environment, the fire led to the evacuation of around 200 children from a summer camp and approximately 300 residents from the nearby village of Cíjara. Those evacuated were relocated to Castilblanco for safety. Extensive firefighting resources have been deployed, including 13 forest fire units, heavy machinery, environmental agents and technicians. Personnel from the Ministry for Ecological Transition and firefighters from Badajoz province have also joined the operation. Emergency management bodies were activated under the InfoCAIC Civil Protection Plan. As of Sunday morning, the regional government reports the fire's progression is favourable, though teams remain vigilant as weather conditions continue to pose a potential threat. So the fire in the province of Badajoz, if you're not familiar with Badajoz, it's a province that borders Portugal to the west of Spain, southwest Spain, if you like, also borders some of the Andalusian provinces, and the fire there burning 2,500 hectares and people needing to be evacuated, as we saw there. 200 children from a summer camp and another 300 people from towns nearby told to get out of their houses, get out of the way because the fire was coming through. And as I said, one of numerous fires to take hold in Spain over the last 5 days or so. And according to authorities, and we'll see this in just a moment with the next piece of news, it seems that this fire, the fire that has destroyed around 2,500 hectares, was deliberately lit. As we can see here, authorities suspect arson in the Valdecaballeros wildfire after 23 fires in 2 years. Authorities in Extremadura believe the wildfire currently burning in Valdecaballeros, Badajoz, may have been deliberately started. Abel Bautista, the region's Minister for Interior and Social Dialogue, highlighted that 23 fires have occurred in the same area during the 2024-2025 fire seasons combined, raising strong suspicions of arson. Bautista suggested that everything indicates a pyromaniac could be intentionally setting fires given the pattern and frequency of incidents. The current blaze has forced the evacuation of around 500 people, 200 from a campsite and 300 from the village. Approximately 2,500 hectares of land have already been destroyed. The Junta de Extremadura has activated operational level 1 of its civil protection plan in response to the crisis. Officials warn that these repeated fires not only endanger the environment, but also pose a serious risk to locals and emergency personnel. So that's what we're dealing with, unfortunately, with a lot of fires here in Spain, not only here in Spain, but around the world as well. I understand that people, for whatever reason, think that it's a good idea to start these fires. Arsonists, pyromaniacs, the other word used here, and the devastation that they cause, not only putting people's lives in danger, as we saw, but also the dangers to the environment and other complications that arise. And as we saw there, some 500 people we mentioned in the first article that we saw having to be evacuated, and some 200 children that were at a summer camp in the area having to get out of the way of that fire. So if it is arson, because we saw there that some, 23 fires in 2 years lit in the same area, all indications point towards a firebug in that part of the country that gets their kicks from setting things on fire and causing destruction and seeing people scrambling for their lives to get out of the way of these wildfires when the conditions are right, as we know, and the conditions have been extreme in recent times. Very, very hot temperatures, strong winds, and of course people know that that's when these fires become the most dangerous. And as we saw, arson probably to blame there, given the amount of fires that have been lit in that area. Third piece of news, and not good news for the average Spaniard, people that are on lower salaries in the country. And let's be honest, a lot of people are on low salaries in Spain because, as we can see here, 1 in 3 Spaniards can't afford holidays amid rising living costs. Luz Lorenzo, a hotel cleaner in Benidorm, hasn't taken a proper holiday in 8 years. Although entitled to leave days, she rarely uses them as she cannot afford to travel. Luz's situation reflects a broader problem. 33.4% of Spaniards cannot afford even a week of annual holiday, according to the National Statistics, the Institute of Statistics, the INE. Despite having stable employment, many workers on minimum wage or slightly above struggle to cover basic expenses. Luz and her partner, who earns slightly less as a maintenance worker, share their income to cover rent, utilities, and increasingly expensive food. Saving for holidays is impossible. A recent study suggests Spanish holidaymakers will spend an average of €1,339 in summer 2025, an unattainable figure for Luz and many like her. As she puts it, with our wages and expenses, it's unthinkable. Paid employment in today's Spain no longer guarantees access to basic leisure. So that is what a lot of workers in Spain are dealing with. Similar in other countries, as we know, where salaries don't keep up with inflation, and holidays out of the question for many, many people, because trying to make ends meet doesn't allow for such luxury to be able to go on holiday. Something that probably 10 or 15 years ago would have been attainable for people on minimum wage, to have a week in their local town, or maybe go to a place like Benidorm. I mean, she's working in Benidorm with her partner there, but of course can't afford to holiday any longer with those salaries. €1,330 a month, I think it was, partner earning less. So, and with the rising cost of living, which, as we know, has gone through the roof in recent times, difficult to make ends meet. Holiday out of the question for the last 8 years for some people, according to that article there. And things are only getting tougher in modern day Spain for many to make $1 or $2, or €1 or $2, I should say. So not good news there, but what can we do? Maybe the government can step in and order some type of, organise some type of holiday plan like they have for pensioners, where they get subsidised holidays. I don't know. Maybe that is something that could be put on the table in order for people like Luz to have a break from their work and get away and enjoy a holiday like many foreigners do in Spain, which is another reason, obviously, why costs are going up, because people come into the country with more purchasing power, and locals are getting squeezed out, and these stories are unfortunately becoming more and more common. And the final piece of news now, related to the Barcelona football sensation Lamine Yamal and his 18th birthday party, which caused a bit of controversy, not only here in Spain, but around the world for some of the things that he organised, or the organisers organised. Don't know whether he did it exactly, but the organisers organised for that birthday party. As we can see here, Lamine Yamal's controversial birthday party sparks global backlash. Lamine Yamal's extravagant 18th birthday party has stirred controversy both in Spain and abroad, with outlets like the New York Post, The Times and Al Jazeera reporting on the event. The Barcelona footballer's gangster-themed celebration featured casino ladies hosting poker tables and people with dwarfism, referred to as mini-boys, entertaining guests. Around 30 young women also arrived by bus, further fueling criticism. Guests signed strict confidentiality agreements with potential fines of up to 2 million euros for leaks. Yamal's social media posts revealed luxury brands, jewelry, and celebrity guests, including Bizarrap, Quevedo, and Lola Indigo, showcasing the Generation Z or Z's tendency to share everything online. His father, described as behaving as if he had won the lottery, plays a visible role in Yamal's public image. Despite widespread criticism, some defend Yamal's eccentricity as typical of footballers. He has dismissed the backlash, insisting he is entitled to enjoy his personal life outside Barcelona's training grounds. So that's the question. Are footballers allowed or entitled or allowed to enjoy their life when they're not playing football, spend their money on whatever they want, or should they be careful to not do things that are going to upset the greater public, especially hiring, I think the word used here is people with dwarfism, called mini-boys, to the party, obviously to entertain the guests. And the star-studded lineup there. You probably never heard of the people mentioned there: Bizarrap, Quevedo, or Lola Indigo, I think the name of the person was. But they're singers or entertainers, and also other high-ranking celebrities in Spain going to that party because Mr. Lamine Yamal put on a show, spending lots and lots of money to keep his guests entertained. And of course, the type of entertainment that was on display was not to the taste of all. So where do you stand on this? Should people be able to spend their money on whatever they want, or should they face criticism? I don't know, for the acts that they do. And of course, nobody would find out about these things if they weren't published on social media, because we know with 34 million social media followers, I think Yamal has on Instagram and other social media outlets, lots of people interested to see every move that he makes, my son included. So is he a good influence or a bad influence? That's the question. But yes, showing having a big fiesta, as they say, for his 18th birthday party. And his parents, should they crack down on that type of behavior? I don't know, because as we saw there, his father apparently also living the high life as if he had won the lottery, given his son's success on the football field. Lamine Yamal, let us know where you stand on the issue. Should they spend their money wherever they want, or should they be held accountable for their acts? That's the question. Now, into the comment section we're going to go. We'll check out some comments that have been left on the channel in recent times by viewers. We'll have a look at this one here first by Duncan. Corruption everywhere has always been endemic. I lived through the 90s in Spain. It was eye-watering to read the news back then. It even shocked my friends who were accustomed to British North American scandals. The Montoro thing is just another good example of hand in the cookie jar. Thanks, Duncan, for the comment. Yes, this is the latest corruption scandal to break in Spain, one of numerous corruption scandals that have broken this year. We know the current government, or the socialist side of the government, because it's a coalition government, involved in a corruption scandal at the moment too, where high-ranking officials in that party have been brought down by their alleged illegal dealings. One person is in prison and another two people are also under the spotlight, and more to come apparently. And the latest corruption case, which of course the government is now rubbing their hands with glee because it takes the attention away from their own corruption scandals, the alleged corruption that was taking place in the finance or the treasury ministry back in the mid-2000s, I think the allegations go back to. Don't quote me on the exact date there, but I think that is when they go back to. The person in question, Mr. Montoro, in a bit of hot water at the moment, but of course he's saying nothing to see here, let's move on, prove it if you can. And that's what the judges, or the judge in Spain, is trying to do with these allegations. I should say that a lobby was set up to move money for and try to work in the favour of certain companies with certain deals, and also legislation at the time. Those are the allegations. I don't know. And Duncan here saying that Spain has had its issues with corruption over the years. That is true, but I think corruption in Spain is fairly low-level corruption, not as big as the corruption that you might get in some other countries around the world. For example, in other European countries, looking at Germany and countries like that, where corruption is a bit more sophisticated, let's say. In Spain, it tends to be a little bit less sophisticated, but the Montoro case is showing a higher level of sophistication, apparently, if the judge can prove that to be the case. I don't know, time will tell. But thanks, Duncan, for the comment. Another one here from Enrique. El País newspaper is not trustworthy. It only reports news in the interests of the current government. Thanks, Enrique, for the comment. That might be true. I don't know. It depends on what side of the fence you sit politically, whether you agree with this comment or not. Some people would, some people won't. But what I try to do on this channel, Enrique, is get news from both sides of the spectrum. I take articles from El País, I'll take them from El Mundo, I'll take articles from other press outlets as well, and we'll try to get a balance and people can come to their own conclusions rather than only reading one side of the news, which is what a lot of people tend to do nowadays. They like to go to one particular newspaper or one particular radio station or one particular social media outlet and get a biased point of view rather than looking at all sides. And yeah, politically that could be the case. El País, as we know, has traditionally supported the left-wing governments in Spain, the socialist governments, the PSOE. They've made they haven't tried to hide that. El Mundo, on the other hand, has always been a more conservative newspaper supporting more right-wing parties. They've never tried to hide that, so people know where they stand. So that's where it is. But that's the news that we have in the major outlets in Spain. And as I said, we try to look at different points of view from the different press outlets on this channel. But as I said, Enrique, if you want to just go and read your news, go for it, my man. Go for it. Go for it. Thank you very much. Another one here from Mark. Beautiful spot for a video, sir. Love your dog is with you. Great info. Love how you mix it with all different types of videos. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Mark. I think this is related to a video that I did the other day with a nice coastal background. Not the first time that regular viewers would have seen the coast in the background in my videos. I do try to mix it up. I travel a fair bit. I put out a fair bit of content, and I try to look at different things for people with different interests, but the focus is always on Spain. That is what the focus is, and yeah, the dog brings a more personal touch into the videos, even though she doesn't like appearing on camera. I had to fill out some type of disclaimer to allow her to be in the videos, but she seems to be okay with it nowadays as she matures into a nice little dog. Where else are we? We'll have a look at another one here. So thanks, Mark, for the comment. Another one here from Michael. What no one mentions is that most of the Airbnbs on the coast are foreign owners that rent them over the winter and use them during the summer. They would never rent them long term. Also, the Spanish know if they rent long term, they have a high probability of not getting their rent. Imagine having people in your flat that don't pay, and you have to pay the utilities until you get them out, sometimes more than a year. Airbnb is safer in that regard. Mark, thanks for the comment, obviously referring to the squatter issue that some people think is a serious problem in Spain. Some people think that there's no problem with squatters at all. It depends on who you talk to and again, the type of press that you read. But there's no doubt that Spain's laws do favour squatting in some cases, especially when people are considered to be vulnerable. But according to all reports, there are fast-track ways to get people out of squatting situations. I don't know, but that is what I have read. Maybe someone with personal experience can give us an idea, somebody that has gone through it. Stories do pop up in the press from time to time. You can read them from time to time. But I think a lot of people do rent their properties either long-term or short-term without any issues. At least the people that I know that have properties on the rental market. I know 4 or 5 people that have second properties that they bought when they were young. They moved into another property, of course, where they're living now. They kept the other property. It's on the rental market. They have not had an issue because they're very careful with who they rent the properties to. And I think you have to also take that into consideration when you are renting long term. Make sure that you get money up front. Make sure that the person that you are renting to is working for a reputable company. Is going to have their salary every month. And of course, a lot of people don't do that, and they could fall into issues. When it comes to the majority of people renting on the coast being foreigners, again, I don't think that's true. I don't think a lot of people living in Valencia renting their properties out are foreigners. There could be some people, but I don't think the majority would be, as pointed out there by Michael, is it? So I don't think that would be factually true, but of course, everyone is entitled to think what they want. Airbnb being safer, and that's the issue that the government's having at the moment, trying to get all of the Airbnb properties registered and legal on those platforms, because according to the government, it has been an issue for a while. Illegal Airbnbs, and of course the government wants their cut. They want to get their taxes from these properties. So yeah, it's a complex issue, made to look simple in comments like that, but I think there are a little bit more complex. There's a bit more of a complex nature, let's say, to the issue than that, I think. But anyway, just my opinion. Another one here from Juan Carlos. El restaurante español mucho más confortable que el portugués. The street table is very dangerous. Thanks, Juan Carlos. For people that don't understand Spanish, I'll just translate the first part there. The Spanish restaurant is a lot more comfortable than the Portuguese restaurant. And of course, we see the rest of the article there in English. The street table is very dangerous. Referring to a video that I did, I think last week, not sure exactly when I did it, but I went to 2 restaurants, one in Spain, one in Portugal, and sampled a pork roll with cheese in each and compared the two. The Spanish restaurant was more comfortable. Maybe it was. It had air conditioning. That is true. It was a little bit dirty, I will say. The tables were quite dirty when we walked in. There was one of those fly zapping machines above the table that I was sitting at, and every now and again, a little dead fly would sort of fall down on top of the table, so I had to brush those off. So whether that's being more comfortable, I don't know. And in Spain, I think it was about 41 degrees when I recorded that video. And when I crossed the border into Portugal, it was only 32 degrees. But yeah, the part of Portugal that I went to also would not be as, let's say, don't know what word I could use here, as upmarket, let's say, the Portuguese town that I went to in the central interior part of Portugal. Anyone who's been to that part of the country will know what I'm talking about. And the restaurants are what they are. But I tell you what, the roll that I ate there was very nice. The Spanish one was nice, but I think the Portuguese one took the points. Just my opinion. Some people criticize me for putting mayonnaise and ketchup on or mustard, I think it was, on the roll. I wasn't offered ketchup, but I didn't put that on. But that's what the Portuguese do with their rolls. They put mayonnaise and ketchup on them. Spanish one could also have used something, I reckon, to give a little bit more moisture, but just my opinion again. But thanks for that. And of course, where I ate the roll, the trucks and cars flying by, that's the smokers table. There was no one smoking at the time, so I went out there because of the light. Anyone that records videos will know that apart from sound, another one of the most important components of recording a video is light, because if you don't have good lighting, you don't get good quality videos. That's why I like to go outside or sit in front of the window, and I had the opportunity to do that in the Spanish restaurant, but the Portuguese restaurant didn't have the best lighting. I say restaurant, it was more of a bar, but anyway, thanks for the comment. Another one here from Ken. The instant you bit into the Portuguese one, I knew it was the winner. Yep, the crunch. Thanks, Ken. Yep, the secret to the Portuguese roll is that in Portugal, bread in general is very, very, very good. If you like bread, Portugal is the country for you. In some parts of Spain, you get good bread, but in central Spain, in my experience, unless you go to an expensive bakery, you're not going to get good bread. It's all made at a factory nowadays. They ship it off frozen. Some people stick it in an oven, and away you go. It's a very poor quality bread, again, in my opinion. You can get good bread in central Spain if you go to a good bakery. Again, I'll say that, a good bakery. But the majority of places are not putting good bread on the table anymore. They might have done it in the past, but not anymore. But in Portugal, the bread tradition continues. You get good bread everywhere you go. The north of Spain as well, Galicia, you get very, very, very good bread. Where else did I get good bread recently? Can't remember. Maybe in small towns around the country, you also get traditional bakers working still. But in big cities now, to get good bread, supermarket bread, is it good quality? I don't know. Maybe it's good for one day, but you're not going to get much more out of it, I don't think. But anyway, thanks, Ken, for the comment. And yep, the Portuguese was the winner because of that bread. Thank you. And the final comment today from Lyra. If I wanted to come and live in Vigo, in Galicia, and the surrounding area to retire, which language should I learn, and where is a good affordable area with good public transport facilities, please? Thanks, Lyra, for the comment. I'll answer quickly the first part here. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, I think there are certain parts of the country where they have a regional language, let's say. So in a place like Galicia, Vigo, a lot of people there will have learnt the language Gallego, or the Galician language, which is similar to Portuguese, let's say. Sort of a mix between Spanish and Portuguese, if that makes sense. The Gallegos probably will dispute that claim, but for me, it sounds like a hybrid language, and a lot of people seem to mix the words. It's not true Portuguese, it's not true Spanish, it's sort of like a hybrid version, I would say. The Basque Country has its own language, very, very complicated to learn, but in big cities people speak Castilian Spanish, you won't have a problem, and Catalonia the same thing. In the big cities people will speak Castilian Spanish. Some people, of course, will speak the Catalan language, but most people will be bilingual. Another thing is whether they want to speak Castilian Spanish to you. That's one of the big complaints people seem to have, and vice versa. But in a city like Vigo, for example, if you're living there, or in Pontevedra, the majority of people will be bilingual. So I always recommend learning Castilian Spanish, because if you go to all the trouble of learning another language like Basque or Catalan or Gallego, and you decide to move, you're going to have to start again, because people will not speak that language outside of those areas. But they will speak Castilian Spanish, because, as I said, most of the people in those parts of the country are bilingual, and in the rest of the country, people only speak one language, except in Valencia, where they might be bilingual as well, or the Balearic Islands, where they might be bilingual, but the rest of the country only speak one language, or one local language. They might speak English, but they might not. So Castilian Spanish, I would say. Regarding the second part of the question, where is a good affordable area with public transport facilities, please? Well, you're going to have to look at any medium to big city in Spain to get the things there. Public transport facilities especially, because when it comes to some of the smaller towns, you might not get good public transport. That's the issue that a lot of small towns in Spain have. And that's why people pack up and move to places where they have more facilities and they have, better health facilities, better public transport facilities. They have, places where they can buy food when they need to buy food, rather than having to travel 30 or 40 kilometers to buy food. So any medium-sized city, if you don't want to live in a big city, you'll get that. Again, just my opinion. And affordable. Well, anywhere outside of the big cities in Spain are more affordable, I think. But again, we'll open it up to the community. We'll get their opinion and see what they say. But that would be my recommendation on that one, Lyra. Thank you very much for that. Now, we're going to go into the live chat. Before we do go into the live chat, I'm just going to put the like icon on the screen if I can find it here. If you haven't hit it yet, please do so. We're currently sitting at 86. I can see here on the screen. So if you haven't hit the like icon yet, please do so. Below the video, you'll find it if you're watching on a computer or on your phone. And if you're watching on a TV, which a lot of people seem to be doing nowadays, I've said that before, I'll say it again. I think 46% of the views now are coming from televisions. So people have the YouTube app installed, but you've got to go into the settings, I think, to find the like button. So if you can do us a favor, hit the like button, please. Also, people that have supported the channel in recent times, whether it's through the Super Thanks option here on YouTube, whether it's by buying me a coffee, whether it's longer term supporters on Patreon, and of course the channel members of this YouTube channel, thank you very much for that support. And some new members have joined in recent times. Unfortunately, I don't know who they are at the moment because I don't have access to that page, but in the next live stream, I will give people a shout out that have become members and people that have supported the channel in recent times. Thank you very much for that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do us a favor. Surprising to see how many people are not subscribers. They watch the videos regularly, but they're not subscribers. It's completely free. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and bang, away you go. And we'll see if we can hit the target of 100,000 subscribers this year, which would be fantastic if we can get to that total. We will see. Now, into the live chat I'm going to go. We'll see what's bubbling away there. Hopefully it won't be as caliente as the last live chat where things got a little bit out of control because of different opinions, but we'll try and keep it cordial this evening. Let's see what's going on here. John is the first person that I can see back in the UK where it's rainy. What else is there to say? Not a lot, John. John was recently, of course, in Almeria enjoying some time in the sun. But back in the UK where the usual weather has kicked in after the hot spell that they've had there for a month or so, where temperatures were quite warm for that part of the world, I believe. Thanks, John, valued member. Al is in the chat also, a valued member too. Hola, mis amigos and Stuart. Enjoying 32 degrees Celsius at historic Virginia Beach. Hope everyone is enjoying their weekend. Thank you very much for that, Al. Stephen is in the chat as well, back in Blighty now. For people not familiar with the word Blighty, it means the United Kingdom or England. Does it mean England or the UK? I think it's more England, is it? Now for a cool down after a spell in Torrevieja where it was hot. Yes, I imagine it was hot in Torrevieja, Stephen, but no doubt you found ways to keep cool in that part of the country. Thanks for joining us this evening. What else? Let's have a look here. Amanda's in the chat too. Hello everyone from a stormy UK. Don't know what the crowns are either. Well, apparently there's a new thing that YouTube has started. I don't see them here on the software that I'm using here now, but if I go to the live feed, I do see the crowns, and people that are first to comment or second to comment get a crown for whatever reason. It's a way YouTube is showing people that they are valued supporters of the platform, I think. And Alan also asking, what are the crowns for? Asking for his imaginary friend. Well, I think that's it. I think that's the reason. If I go to the live chat area and click on one of those, it only comes up in the first few minutes or even before the live stream begins, I think. After the live stream begins, I don't think you get a crown, but it says here that they are top fans. Top fans is the word that I have here. So if you have a crown, you're a top fan. Thank you very much for being a top fan. Mary's in the chat here too. Good evening, Stuart and everyone. We had a scorching 37 degrees in Valencia, visiting the Tutankhamun experience yesterday. Fantastic day apart from the heat. I imagine, Mary, that 37 degrees in Valencia would be stifling given the humidity in that part of the country. 32 degrees with the humidity that they have there can be too much for some. 37, whew, hopefully you found an air-conditioned place to get out of that heat. Dion is in the chat. Hi everyone. G'day Dion, nice to see you. Don't think I've seen Dion in the chat before. Andrew is saying here, corruption in Spanish politics, right, left, centre, is inescapable. It's not going to go away. Moncloa, Town Hall, wherever. Seems to be the case, Andrew. But as I mentioned before, it's fairly low-level politics. It's like, influence peddling and grafting and things like that, where graphs-aware and things like that, where politicians try to take a cut on contracts. At least those are the allegations that are going on at the moment. Town halls have been rife with this over the years, of course, especially when all of that money was pouring in from the European Union. Lots of it was going... Whoop, nearly knocked the microphone off there. Lots of it was going straight into politicians' pockets, of course, back in the day. And there were lots of convictions for corruption when I first came to Spain in those years following that, and it seems to continue. And Spanish people, for whatever reason, don't seem to be able to change the quality of their politicians or change the system. Or maybe it's the politicians that don't change the system. They like it this way. Pedro Sanchez, the current Prime Minister, one of the first things that he said, because he came to power as a result of a corruption scandal, the first thing that he said was, we're going to weed out corruption in Spain. Those were his words. Obviously, he didn't say it in English, but more or less you get the idea. And he said the country is going to become more transparent. This type of thing is going to happen no longer. That is going to be our number one priority. But 7 years later, we see that it was not the case. And people very, very close to Mr. Sanchez are involved in serious corruption allegations at the moment. And the same thing, public contracts being awarded to companies, I was going to say countries, but being awarded to companies that are either owned by friends or by the politicians themselves. Those are the allegations. So when the public money's coming in, and the European Union is also looking into this as well, because billions of European money have come into the country, and some of the allegations are that the people involved in these corruption scandals were taking the cut for this money. So we'll see what happens as a result. But as we know, one person's in jail, and I'm sure others will end up there. But Spanish prisons are accustomed to having politicians come in and out of them. Thundercats. Tourists are not the problem in general. Tourists bring in lots of money. The government has not built enough infrastructure from that money, says Thundercats Ho. That could be an argument. that might have some validity. I don't know. The government has not spent enough on infrastructure. I think that's true in the Canary Islands. I think that's one of the big problems in the Canaries, that they've wanted more and more people to come, but of course the infrastructure hasn't kept up with the amounts of people coming in, and that's when the locals are now starting to complain. And maybe that's the case in other cities as well. I know Madrid, where I live on the outskirts of that city, and every time I go into Madrid now, the center of the city doesn't resemble the city that I used to know. Yeah, it's a lot cleaner. You could probably say that it's a lot safer than it was. I don't know. But now, with the amount of tourists in that city, and Barcelona as well, the infrastructure maybe has not kept up. I don't know, but you could put forward that argument there. I don't know. Barbara's in the chat, valued member, coming in from a hot Playa Flamenca. Temperatures in the mid-30s there at the moment. Thanks, Barbara. Again, yep, 30 degrees or mid-30s in that part of the country with the humidity. Can be stifling, That is it. Billy. We'll have a look at Billy's comment here. Wages are high here in Ireland. The people can't afford property, and a lot of young people with children can't afford holidays. I guess it's just the supply and demand problem. Probably it is, Billy. Wages are higher in Ireland. I do believe that. And of course, the Irish economy is going gangbusters at the moment, or at least it has been. But wages in Spain haven't caught up with the cost of living for a lot of people, especially people that are on the lower end of the wage scale, the people that we saw before working in the tourist sector, in the hotels, or the maintenance workers. Another article in the paper today, a bricklayer, I think, saying that 20 years ago he was making $3,000 a week. Today he struggles to make $1,500. So I don't know. It's a struggle for some to make a wage, or a decent wage. Thanks, Billy. Also, Ackett's in the chat here too. A little cold today, high of 22. Lately, it's been high 30s. Hope everyone is well. Please remember to hit that like button. Well, we're up to 122 likes, Osu. So people have hit the like button, which is great. Thanks for that. What else? Let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Harry coming in from Dusseldorf in Germany. Buenas tardes. 20 degrees there with thunderstorms now and then. Thanks, Harry. Yes, Dusseldorf in Germany. Oscar coming in from Houston, Texas. The rain is over for the moment. We're headed for 100-degree Fahrenheit temperatures this week. Hope all is well for everyone. Thanks, Oscar. Hot 100-degree Fahrenheit temperatures there in Houston. Do you get the humidity in Houston as well, or is it a drier heat? Let us know, Oscar. I'd love to know. Thundercat saying that corruption is in certain parts of Italy is worse. Worse, I think that should be. Yeah, again, it's a problem in some countries probably all countries in the European Union, Thunder. But Italy has had its corruption issues over the years, as we know. But again, is Spain as bad as Italy, or is Italy as bad as Spain? I don't know. What about Portugal? What about Greece? They've all had their issues over the years. Gigi back in Arizona, listening live for the first time at mid-morning time. Back to the very warm weather. Gigi, after completing her 3 months doing the Camino de Santiago, the Camino expert that Gigi is. No doubt we'll have another book in the pipeline to be published soon about the experiences. Rappers 57 saying, we all know about the forest fires here on roads 39 today. Yes, Greece suffers the same issues. Those wildfires or bushfires, forest fires that ravaged the country during the summer months. I think last year was a terrible year for Greece. Portugal's had some serious issues over the last decade or so with fires as well. Yep, that is true. But the one in Badajoz is a worry when people are starting them. That's the issue, right? People are deliberately going out there and starting these fires. Flutter Girl coming in from a warm and sunny Toronto in Canada. KGM, as a UK airport worker, I'm amazed at the number of families who can still afford a continental holiday through these challenging times. Even a glass of vino is a tenner. I'm not sure how much you pay for a holiday to Spain or Greece or Cyprus or wherever people are heading to nowadays, to the Algarve in Portugal, KGM. But I have heard, and I was speaking to a guy from England probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and he told me that it was cheaper for him. He lives in Madrid. It was cheaper for him to fly to Luton from Madrid and then take a plane from Luton to Mallorca than it was to go from Madrid to the same place, and with the hotel included as well. I think that's what he said. So the packaged holidays from the UK to places like the Balearics or the Canaries or the Algarve or Cyprus, Greece, wherever, as I said, seem to be a lot cheaper for some reason than for the locals. But yeah, I think people probably scrape up the money and they're desperate for a holiday in the sun, given some parts of the UK don't. And Ireland and places like that don't get the very long summers, although this year seems to have been different. Eco Farmer in Spain, hello from sunny South London. I'm looking forward to getting back to the finca, or the piece of land or farm in northeast Spain in September for the almond harvest. There we go. The almond harvest for the Eco Farmer. Mike's in the chat as well. Vermilion, Canada, Alberta to be exact. Cool and rainy there. Thanks, Mike. Good to see you. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Iggy's in the chat from a cool and breezy Jaén in Andalusia, one of the hotter parts of the country, of course. Jaén, famous for its olive groves. Endless olive groves down there in that part of the country, given the extreme heat that they have. Antonio, regular viewers in the chat too. Hello, Stuart and everyone. I agree about the bread, but as you said, in Galicia, the bread is amazing and also great. In Asturias, not as good as in Galicia, but everywhere there are good bakeries. Thanks for that. Yeah, the north of the country does have good bakeries, Antonio. I've had good bread also in Malaga, if you go to some good bakeries as well. It's a different type of bread, of course, but it's nice nonetheless. But my problem is generally with supermarket quality bread, Antonio, which seems to be dominating, at least where I live on the outskirts of a big city. It's also a big city, 100,000 people, but people love to buy their bread from one or two places nowadays, and that is either the supermarket or the convenience store that we find on the corner. Which also seems to be cornering the bread market, and absolutely terrible stuff. But anyway, what else? Harry saying here, El País is centre left and El Mundo is centre right, but both are renowned newspapers and there's nothing wrong with quoting them. But some people believe only extremist points of view. Yes, Harry, that is true. It does seem to be the case with those newspapers. They are renowned newspapers. I made the point the other day. I said that, they are experienced journalists, quality journalists, but of course people piled on top of me saying that is absolute rubbish. Those newspapers, experienced journalists, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to try to refrain from talking too much about that today, but people are free to get their news from wherever they want. I see some of the channels that people watch, people that watch my videos. I see the channels that people watch. There's a behind-the-scenes metric here on YouTube that tells you what your viewers are watching. And believe me, some of the videos that have been coming up in that feed in recent times are very, very far from the story that we're getting here on what is happening or what has happened in recent times. But again, people are free to believe the people that they want to believe. I'll just keep on this topic just for another minute or two. some of the points of view about what happened in Spain last week that are being put forward by people that have absolutely no idea of the place and the events. But people can believe what they want to believe. That's their choice. We'll leave it at that. It's Gallego, not Gallego. In Castilian Spanish, Andrew, it's Gallego. In Galician, it would be Gallego, but in Castilian Spanish, Gallego. What else we got going on here? Pete saying that been able to keep up with the lives for a while. Good to see you, Pete, and also Jane, of course. Good to see you this evening. Marit saying, hello, I disagree a little. In Galicia, everyone is bilingual. I live in a small village and have found out that in the villages, especially the women, don't speak Castellano. In the small villages, that is true, Marit. Some people don't speak Castellano. They speak Gallego, of course, but you have to go very remote to find that. You have to go deep into the countryside. I remember many years ago, I was taken into the deep Galician countryside by a vet who was doing his rounds, and people didn't speak Castilian Spanish. They spoke the pure Gallego, but in the cities and small towns, people will be bilingual, Marit, of course. But in the very small villages, when you start going into the remote parts of the country, you will find people that haven't been educated formally, and that is the reason for that, I would say, or at least it was the case back in the day. And now, of course, you get the younger generations that, some people are promoting the Galician language, of course, especially the some political parties like the BNG in Galicia promoting the use of Gallego, and which is absolutely fine, but you'll find that the majority of people in the big cities are bilingual. What else we got going on? And also the medium-sized towns as well. What else? Kev is in the chat. We went to, where's that? Murcia? Where's that? Murcia? Maybe it's Murcia, I don't know. To the Aqua Park, must have been 5 degrees hotter than the coastal area with no breeze, only about 60 k's away. So I think it is Murcia. Thanks for that, Kev. Yep, once you start getting into the interior parts of Murcia, it can get very hot indeed. Antonio agreeing with Maritz, but not in Vigo or La Coruña. Everyone speaks the first language Castilian, but all of them, or 90%, know how to speak Galician. It's an easy language, says Antonio. There we go. The Jazz Shed. Good evening, Stu, from a fairly damp, or rather damp, but fairly warm Bury St Edmunds. Enjoying a glass of very reasonably priced Rueda Verdejo. Nice one, Aldi. Thanks for that, Jazz Shed. Enjoy the wine, a nice white wine. Pete saying that we'll be in Barcelona on the 28th, continuing to see family in Pamplona, Navarra, San Sebastián, finishing up in Madrid. So in the time zone. Can't wait. Thanks, Pete. Hope you enjoyed that trip. Antonio also saying here that Gallego is the name in the Galician language. Gallego is Galician in Castilian Spanish. Galicia was the first medieval kingdom to fall or Western Roman Empire. Thanks very much for that, Antonio. Yeah, Castilian Spanish, Gallego. And that's what I speak, for example. I don't speak the local Galician language. N194, regards from Alto Adigio, is that? Thanks for that, N. Hope I pronounced that one correctly, not sure. Dave saying that the UK may have some rain, but with hosepipe bans in force, it's needed. However, between the current heavy showers and the sun, the temperature and humidity rockets and feels very uncomfortable. Very humid it can get in the UK as well. Liz, hello Stu and everyone. G'day Liz, good to see you. Let's have a look. Pete saying here, commenting on the past week's crossfire, appreciate your commitment to protecting a moderate, pragmatic approach. Politics are important, but can be too dogmatic at the expense of people. Yeah, we saw that last week on full display on the channel here. You mentioned certain topics, and people love to express their points of views, no matter how right or how wrong they may be. That's where we're at. But as I said, I've seen some people commenting on UK channels and on American channels about this. One guy in particular sucking on a cigar. Don't know what he's trying to go for there. Maybe a Joe Rogan type of approach, but Christine saying a nice breeze in Madrid, Port Fin. Yes, hot in Madrid, Christine, hot in Madrid. Nice breeze. You don't really see those words too often together. Hot, nice breeze and Madrid. I'll tell you. Iggy saying here, honestly, Haiyan is not too bad since it's dry. As for Houston, I believe the Texas coast is quite humid, if not mistaken. So there we go. Thanks, Iggy. Yeah, dry heat is bearable, which is what Madrid has as well. It's the humid heat that tends to stifle. What else? Let's have a look. Laura coming in from Colorado, 92 degrees Celsius there. Hello from a hot and sunny Colorado. Thanks for that. Hi guys, my thoughts are with the people living in Extremadura near the terrible fires that are going on. Thanks for that, Heidi. Also a terrible fire close to Madrid last week as well. People were also evacuated from their homes. Navalcarnero, I think, was the area in question there in south-western Madrid. So, yep, you got to be careful. Ground News is a good platform. It says NVN194. Thanks for that. I would agree. Gus saying that in Argentinian Spanish it's gallego. Yes, thanks for that, because the Argentines pronounce the double L a little bit differently than people in Spain. That is true. John in Payporta just walked the dog, need another shower. That's the issue in Valencia as well. You take the dog for a walk and you end up very, very hot and sweaty with the humidity. That is true. Pete saying, flattered that you know us well enough to say hi to Jane. Short-sightedly don't mention her. Thanks for that. Yeah, Pete, I understand the two of you there. I've seen enough comments and emails over the journey to know that. Thanks for that. Pete's also given a super chat for $5. Thank you very much for that, guys. Heidi's saying, if you listen to the Gallego, you can understand it. It's very similar to Portuguese, so you'll be all right, Stu. The difference, Heidi, that I find is that Portuguese is very, very difficult to understand. That's my experience. Brazilian Portuguese is easy to understand, or so they say, but continental Portuguese or European Portuguese, very, 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 very complicated language to understand. And Galician or Gallego, I was in Galicia recently, and you hear some ads on the radio, and it's just a mixture between Castilian Spanish and some local words. At least that's what I understood. Albert saying, travelled to Murcia on the Saturday in the middle of the riots. Lots of stores closed and very few people were around. We left before it got dark. Yeah, I think things are under control in that part of Spain, Albert. I think, or hopefully they are. I hope they are. Kev saying here the spelling on a small phone without glasses can be an issue. Kev, I know what you're talking about there. I often make mistakes when I'm writing on my phone, the small keyboard. Don't know whether it's small keyboard, big fingers, or just not being able to hit the correct button. And Albert saying Toronto, Canada, plus 40 where he lived compared to 37 in Alicante. And that's the last comment, so I'm going to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure as always. I'll be back again on Tuesday, I think, with another live stream. Hopefully I'll be back then if all goes well. As I said, it's been a pleasure. Hasta luego, hasta entonces. Adios, bye-bye. See you then.